In July 2015, 25-year-old Kayla Ray Norton and her 26-year-old boyfriend Jose Torres were part of a group called Respect the Flag, tied to racist ideologies. The pair drove through parts of Georgia, including Paulding and Douglas counties, flaunting Confederate flags on their trucks while shouting racial slurs, African Americans, terrorizing the community. The situation reached a terrifying peak when Norton and Torres arrived at a birthday party for an 8-year-old black child in Douglasville. They hurled racist insults directly at attendees, including young children. Tearful witnesses described how this group of Confederate flag supporters spent 2 full days driving across counties in the Atlanta suburbs, threatening black families and brandishing weapons. One said, "They're pulling rifles out on us. 5 trucking white guys, rebel flags." The targeted family had even called the police, fearing knives and guns. Torres escalated the chaos further by pointing a shotgun at the crowd, creating a highly dangerous, life-threatening scene. This shocking attack came just a month after the racially motivated Charleston church shooting, where 9 people were killed. In 2017, the case went to trial under Superior Court Judge William Bowman. Prosecutors presented damning evidence against Norton and Torres, highlighting the fear and emotional trauma they inflicted. Judge Milan sentenced Kayla Ray Norton to 6 years in prison, followed by 9 years of probation. Jose Torres received a harsher punishment, 13 years in prison plus 7 years of probation. Both were banned from returning to Douglas County, the community they had terrorized. During sentencing, Norton expressed remorse, telling the victims, "I'm so sorry that happened to you. I know I was wrong, but I want you all to know that that is not me." Remarkably, one of the victims responded with compassion, "I forgive you." The terror didn't stop there. In 1998, Sean Berry, Lawrence Brewer, and John King shocked the nation with one of the most gruesome hate crimes in Jasper, Texas. James Byrd Jr., a black man, was kidnapped, tied to a pickup truck, and dragged nearly 3 miles because of his race. Brewer and King, with accomplice John Berry, first offered Byrd a ride, pretending to help him. Instead, they drove him to a remote area and committed unimaginable cruelty, beating him and chaining him to the truck. Byrd remained alive through much of the horrific ordeal, only to be decapitated before his body was dumped in front of a black cemetery across from a chapel. Authorities quickly got involved, and Brewer and King's trail of evidence led straight to them. Both men openly embraced white supremacist beliefs, displaying racist tattoos and affiliating with a white supremacist prison gang. John King was tried first, convicted of capital murder in less than 2 hours, and sentenced to death. The first modern Texas case where a white man received the death penalty for killing a black person. Brewer's trial ended the same way. Despite the brutality of their actions, both men showed little remorse, insisting on their innocence. King was executed in 2019, while Brewer remains on death row. In May 2017, another horrifying attack struck Portland, Oregon. Jeremy Christian, a 35-year-old white supremacist, launched a violent assault on a Max Light Rail train. He shouted racist slurs at 2 black teenage girls, one wearing a hijab. When Ricky Best, a 53-year-old Army veteran, and Taliesin Nonkimesh, a 23-year-old college student, intervened, Christian stabbed them both fatally. Micah Fletcher, a 21-year-old student, was also seriously injured while trying to help. Christian fled the scene, but was quickly apprehended by police, openly confessing that his attack was racially motivated. Christian's violent history and back years, including a 2002 armed robbery conviction. At his 2020 trial with Judge Cheryl Albrecht presiding, prosecutors built a compelling case highlighting his racist motives and repeated violent behavior. Reports showed he aimed an angry racist rant at 2 black teen girls, one wearing a hijab, and even admitted to pushing one in the chest before attacking. Christian had premeditated the attack, fueled by deep hatred. In contrast, his defense claimed he acted in self-defense, insisting he felt threatened by the men who confronted him. After a tense 4-week trial, the jury deliberated for nearly 12 hours before delivering a guilty verdict on all counts, including 2 counts of first-degree murder and attempted murder. As the verdict was read, the victims' families gasped in disbelief, while Christian remained completely unfazed, showing no reaction at all. Demetria Hester, a black woman Christian had assaulted the day before the stabbings, voiced her raw anger and pain, calling him a waste of breath for the harm he caused. In the end, Christian was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would spend the rest of his days behind bars for his horrific actions. Decades earlier, in 1964, 3 civil rights activists, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, were brutally murdered in Mississippi. Edgar Ray Killen, a member of the Ku Klux Klan, masterminded their killings. The young men had traveled to Mississippi as part of the Freedom Summer campaign to register black voters. On June 21, 1964, while investigating a church fire, they were detained by local authorities and then ambushed by Killen and other Klan members. The activists were viciously murdered, and their bodies hidden in a dam. The nation was outraged, and the FBI launched an intensive investigation that captured national attention. Philadelphia, Mississippi, became the focus of worldwide eyes. The sleepy southern town, steeped in tradition, faced the stark reality of racial hatred, challenged at last but not without a fight. Churches were burned, community members, including women, were beaten, and the fear was palpable. Killen stood trial in 1967 alongside 18 others, but the jury could not reach a verdict, resulting in a mistrial. For decades, he remained free, while the case continued to haunt the public conscience. Finally, in 2005, Mississippi reopened the investigation. Judge Marcus Gordon presided as prosecutor. Mark Duncan presented compelling evidence linking Killen to the murders. Witnesses testified about Killen's direct involvement, some recounting how he boasted about the killings. At 80 years old, Killen was convicted of 3 counts of manslaughter 41 years after Chaney, Goodman, and Schwerner were murdered. He was sentenced to 60 years in prison, with each count carrying 20 years consecutively. Many argued the sentence was far too light for such horrific crimes. Fast forward to 2020 in Brunswick, Georgia. On a sunny February day, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery went out for a jog, unaware it would be his final run. Greg McMichael, his son Travis, and neighbor William Bryan decided Arbery seemed suspicious. They jumped into their trucks and gave chase. Travis McMichael, armed with a shotgun, confronted Arbery, and moments later, gunshots rang out. Arbery collapsed. Initially, no charges were filed, but when a video of the shooting surfaced online, it spread like wildfire, shocking the nation and sparking fierce calls for justice. Travis McMichael, now convicted, received a life sentence plus 20 years on federal hate crime charges, marking him for his deliberate targeting of Arbery because of his race. His father, Gregory McMichael, and neighbor William Bryan are also set to be sentenced on the same federal charges, already serving life in state prison. Judge Timothy Walmsley presided, and prosecutor Linda Dunikowski argued relentlessly that the McMichaels and Bryan acted as judge, jury, and executioner, chasing Arbery without cause. The defense claimed self-defense, but the jury rejected it, finding all 3 guilty after a tense trial. On sentencing day, Judge Walmsley delivered a strong verdict. Travis McMichael received life without parole. Counts of felony murder were vacated by law, while aggravated assault and false imprisonment counts added additional consecutive and concurrent years, totaling life plus 20. Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, spoke in court, telling how her son's death devastated their family and demanding the maximum punishment for the men who took his life in cold blood. Justice had finally spoken, but the memory of Arbery's last run will never be forgotten.